Good morning and welcome to day 5 of our wellness week, which this week is a makeover of your medicine cabinet. Today I'm here to talk about mental health and give you guys some insights, or I guess some tips around ways that I use essential oils in relation to my mental health, and how you can help, how I can help you incorporate them into yours. But first we have to look at, what is mental health. Now, mental health means a lot of different things to everybody, but for me, primarily, I just look at some of the ways that, you know, my mental health has influenced my journey up to this point. And I started having a little look online about, some different types of mental health and all that sort of stuff, just trying to do some preparation for this call. And I came across the website Beyond Blue organization. It's Australian based organization, and they just a little snapshot of what they had on their website really sort of summed up how I feel about mental health, and I guess my outlook towards it. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. So what is mental health? Mental health is often used as a substitute for mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety conditions, schizophrenia, and others. However, mental health, and I'm just reading literally straight from the screen, however, mental health is a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or own potential, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So that for me really summed up what it was. When you say mental health, a lot of people really, it's just another way of saying some kind of illness or some sort of a state that is, I guess, a mental health problem. There's always the problem or issue associated to mental health. However, the next line I'll just read you is mental health is about wellness rather than illness, and that's the approach I like to look at my own mental health. So when I look at for my own personal journey, I incorporate essential oils as a preventative tool or an assistant tool to my mental health and my mental wellness, and that's how I feel is the best approach here. When you look at some of the major causes of mental health or the diagnosis, a lot of people previously would run off to a doctor to see their doctor. They'd walk out of a doctor with some pretty heavy medication, and that medication is, by all means, it is a necessary part of the process. And I'm not here to say that essential oils are, throw out all your strongest medication you've been given previously to help work with your mental health ailments or whatever's going on. But I feel for me, and there's a lot of other people who've had some great results in using essential oils in a proactive way to get on top of some health issues, or some, well and truly your own body. And I can only obviously speak for me, but I am very in tune with my day-to-day ups and downs, or the worries and stresses that come in cycles when you're looking at things like depression or anxiety or sort of the post-traumatic stress stuff. You are very aware of your own body. You're very, you know when you are not your best self. So it's important to take proactive approaches there to keep on top of your whatever's going on for you. So some things for me that I use and have used for some time are obviously some copaiba essential oil. Copaiba has been an absolute staple for me since it came out. I think it was released into Australia. I think it was about 2018 or whatever it was. It has been an absolute staple in our cupboard. It's just about, I don't know if you can see on the shelf behind, it's like, every LRP order's got at least 1 or 2 bottles, and if we're ever ordering something for other people, they're always getting thrown in a copaiba oil. It's just been a game changer in a lot of ways. Another one that's been huge for me and my mental health has been Motivate, the blend. Again, that's been a huge one for me, especially back in my policing days, where I was, had a lot of initially a lot of, I guess, difficulties separating my work life with my home life. So Motivate played a big role in that, and also balance played a huge role in that, that aspect of getting in to, well, Motivate would help me out getting to work and doing all the things there, and the balance would help me with getting home. So there were some things that at work need to stay at work, and when you walk in the door at home, you've got to be your best dad and your best human and parent and all those things. So they played a huge role there. But I guess we'll speak on copaiba firstly. Copaiba is my favorite. I'm sure if anyone has watched any videos I've ever done, I always speak on copaiba. But copaiba, has been with doTERRA for a few years now. It is a massively, really nice woody scent, a little bit smoky, not as smoky as a vetiver or something like that, but it's got a beautiful note. This one for me is it's able to be used topically, it's able to be used aromatically, and it's able to be used internally. So for me, and I know for Rach, it's a couple of drops of copaiba under the tongue throughout the day or in preparation for sleep. For me, helps with a little bit of a disconnection of my worries, we'll put it, and helps me prepare into a sleep ready state. So I use copaiba 100% of the time of a night before going to bed. I'll place a couple of drops under the tongue in just preparation for winding down. When I know from my own personal journey that when I hit the pillow, that is when the worries of the day or the worries of tomorrow or the worries of situations that have been, they tend to come up. Or especially when you wake up in the middle of the night, I'm not sure how you guys go with your sleep, but if I wake up in the middle of the night, that tends to be when I'll think of every single thing that I've forgotten to do, or every single thing that especially that I have done that I potentially should be doing better, or those things that you that sort of self-talk that gets in the way of sleep. So copaiba is a huge one for me when I'm looking at staying on top of my mental health and not letting it build up and get in trouble, like get me to a point where I shut down and I'm not being my best self, because it is a cycle. There's the world of so I just got Jetty coming in. You got the world of things. Every day you're faced with different problems, and you've got to come up with new solutions. And as parents and as workers, whether you're a parent or not, if you're employed, gainfully employed, you're doing your best day to day to try and get make the most of yourself and show up the best that you can. And sometimes there's some things like stress with money and cars and running households or kids and trying to keep them alive and fed, and some things can start to build up and get on top of you. So for me, copaiba is a huge one in me staying on the front foot with my mental health, and giving me my best chance at doing all those things. That was one of those opening statements, coping with the normal stresses of life, working productively and fruitfully, and able to contribute to my community, whether that's in my bus community or out in the general public community or our our online community. I find it very hard to show up to for things like this, where I've got to I'm putting on my a bringer of information to people. I'm in a space of providing education. Thanks, mate. And it is difficult at times to show up in that capacity when I'm still working through my own troubles and my own worries, and I'll still I'm still in this huge learning phase where I'm trying to be my best self and show an example for our kids as to how being on the front foot of your mental health and your just general being a good human being, it is always it's an ever learning journey, that's for sure, that we're on. And I'm not here to tell you that I have all the answers. However, I have some tools, and we all have some tools in our essential oils that are able to help us proactively take a proactive approach to any underlying things that you've got going on. So if it is to the point where you've previously sought medication, this whole wellness week is about replacing, making over your medicine cabinet. So it's not necessarily saying go out and switch out everything that you've previously been given that's working. It's just saying maybe some of the things that you have already been using on a regular basis may not be the best for you, and you may know and you may feel it within your own body when you with side effects and the way having a particular medication when you're talking on sleep. Like, I only have a bit of experience with people that I know that are on heavy sleep medication. They may get the great night's sleep by having a sleeping tablet. However, the next day they are a zombie, and then once that zombiness of that day wears off, it's like, oh God, now I've got to go to sleep again. And it's like, how do I go to sleep without another tablet? I need another tablet. It's that never-ending cycle of, you're getting this little bit of a reward, however you're suffering as a result of it, and you still can't show up to be your best self, So essential oils for me allow me to show up my best self without side effects, without that addictive need to replicate it. I mean, by all means, I know if I haven't had copaiba, and the family knows, Rachel's throwing bottles at me, but it doesn't come at a cost to something else. So that's what this whole week is about, making over a medicine cabinet, maybe putting some better choices in that have less side effects, less long-term issues, less addictive qualities, and just allow you to make a better choice. But not only because you're using a better product, but because you are able to then show up your best self without the side effects. So that's what it's all about. So copaiba will be its own video on its own on how I go about using it, but basically the drops under the tongue overnight are massive for me. A drop in the hands throughout the day. It's always in my pocket, or it's always in a bag, it's always in the car center console. A drop of copaiba on the hands and taking in a few good breaths, followed with some some good thoughts around clearing the head and clearing some emotion, and just little personal sort of mantra stuff really help me to remain in a good state of mind. So balance, I'll move on to balance. Balance, and doTERRA's grounding blend. Balance was around before copaiba for me, and it was in my car to and from work. I always have loved balance as a scent, as a like a pure man fume. It's it's something special about it, and I've always loved dropping it out and seeing the green in the hands. But balance for me represented calming, staying grounded, allowing my head to just have 5 seconds of switching off, that disconnect, focus solely on breath and returning to center and a collection of thoughts. So for me, balance was huge. Like I said at the start, when leaving work, and sometimes we work some long shifts, sometimes you would be dealing with some not very nice situations that were not something you wanted to carry home. So a lot of people used to look at, when you look at your travel to and from work, it was always like a drag. Oh, I've got to drive an hour to work, and I'm stuck in traffic, I'm doing all this stuff, and just want to get home, and whatever. There's that negative attachment to driving to work. However, I was able to flip it with a little bit of mindset around using that time practically, and I thank Rach for the suggestions around audiobooks and things like that. So audiobooks played a huge role in my travel, and also allowed me to develop personally and grow, stay in that growth space where I'm doing good things for me, and becoming a better person, able to show up better and learn more to be better. It's a positive step to take. Instead of staying in absolute turmoil of racing to work, I was able to stay in a positive place and float float to work half the time. But that was also with the benefit of balance. So balance assisted me in leaving my woes at work so I could turn up at home and be my best dad. So I had very limited time to spend with the kids and Rach, and we had some weekends and then some nights, but some nights were later than others, and some nights I didn't get to come home at all that sort of stuff. So when I had time at home, it was important to make sure I was able to spend it my best self, show up for my kids and Rach as my best self, not a man just still trapped in a product of his work environment. And I know there was times where, I wasn't perfect and I wasn't able to do that very well at all. However, being proactive in that space and using the tools that I already had, I was able to have my best shot. I was able to give it my best shot and show up the best person I could be. And balance has always been an aromatic thing for me. A couple of drops in the hand or in the car. I used to have one of those vent, the little vent diffuser little things that you could just drop a couple of drops on the foam pad and clip it into the vent, turn the air on, and it would flow in and just fill your car up with goodness. Balance was always in there. That was until we invested in a little 12-volt diffuser, although sometimes that was a bugger because it used to tip over and you'd have bloody water everywhere. But yeah, balance was a great way I could remain proactive in my return home from work. It still plays a huge role for me as well in my day-to-day. It's Leon's essential oil, that's his sleep oil. He'll have a roller bottle. He literally just has a roller bottle on the end of it, like the full 15ml bottle, and he'll just roll it on himself at night. Or you'll hear him wake up in the middle of the night, grab a drink, and then you'll hear him reaching, scouring around on the cupboard trying to get his oil off. So yeah, we've helped Leon through some stuff with his sleeping and his nightmares. He used to wake up a lot with some nightmares, and I remember I took him out and we've done some some sort of guided meditation stuff with him and helped anchor balance to his sleep. And it was it's really cool, some stuff that you can do with aromatics and aromatic anchoring, especially of scents, and releasing some anxieties and fears, and releasing he was having particular nightmares about spiders and all this sort of stuff and how it was showing up, and we're able to help him there with balance essential oil and anchor that to his sleep. And yeah, it changed his little sleep routine massively. So there's plenty of information out there for you to look at on how you can do things like that, but for sure reach out if you're interested. The next one I've got here is the Motivate Touch. Motivate is always been our get shit done blend. It was a heavily used when I was in the cops to stay focused, stay on point, stay on task. Heavily as soon as you open it, a lot of people will go, oh, I can smell the peppermint. But for me, it was always the vanilla that I could smell first off, which was kind of gave it its Motivate scent. But now that I've sort of over time realized it is the peppermint that hits you, and it's the peppermint kick that gets you going. Peppermint's well known for its use in promoting focused, on point, and keeping your mind in a good state. So Motivate was incredible for me on the job, and to keep me going, keep me definitely on task. Had some late nights, that's for sure. And some days I did struggle with wanting to go to work, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. It's not always the easiest to talk about. Mental health, it's a tough topic for everybody, and everyone is going through a degree of it, whether or not you've sought mental, whether or not you've sought diagnosis, or you've been to receive some treatment for it, or whether you've been to speak to someone or phone a friend, or whatever it is. Whether you've done any of that is irrelevant. You know your body and you know your mind. You know whether or not you are like any one of those statements there. Mental health's a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential and can cope with normal stresses of life. It all influences all those things. So if there's times in your day when you know that you aren't being your best self, and there's periods that'll come, and it'll be days, and day after day will stack on where you're on a downward slope. Just because you don't reach out to a doctor and receive a diagnosis or a prescription doesn't mean it's any less of a mental health issue. I don't like using the word illness, because an illness tends to kind of people attach the kind of a presumption to illness that it's something you can't do anything about, and it was like a thing you kind of become victim to an illness. However, mental health for me is very much a wellness thing. Mental health for me is the absence of wellness, or it's the lack of focus on wellness. So that's what I know I need when I start to have that little bit of an incline in mood, or a decline in mood, and a decline in drive and focus and wanting to show up and do all these things. I know it's because of I have not focused on my wellness enough, and I'm slipping, so yeah. If there's lost a train of thought, but it doesn't matter. But if there's a way, if there's anything that, or anyone that would like, to open up or speak on ways that they have used essential oils to help them through some of the things they're going through, I definitely encourage you to do so, and to jump it in, throw it in the comments on this video. We love hearing the ways that essential oils have helped people. I always love hearing it. Someone who's I haven't been in the police force for nearly 4 years, and I can tell you now that I still suffer with some issues and carry some baggage from things that have happened, or that I've gone through, or that I've witnessed or seen, or didn't do quite well at, and wish I had done better. I am dealing with things the best I know how, and the only way I'm going to know better ways is if people share their knowledge with me and with other people out there. So that is why I show up in things like this. It is difficult, don't get me wrong, it's difficult for me to do this, but I know that there are going to be people out there that find it even harder than I do to show up and to talk about these things. So if you have anything at all that you have done that has helped change your world, it may just be the one thing that other people need to hear to help them start to take steps to become less ill and more well, I guess is a good way to put it. Yeah, so that's it from me. Thank you very much for everyone who's jumped on and watched this. Please definitely jump in and comment on some things that you do. I really would love to hear from you all, and we always love hearing from you all. And we've got a really big, a lovely community here that are all really super supportive and just looking for information. So if you have something you can offer, throw it out there. It's a big bright world that we live in, and the more information that's out there and available, the more chances we have at helping make a change in someone's world. And that's what it's all about. That's why we're here. That's why we have essential oils. We're trying to take that proactive approach to our health, get back the power of our own bodies and of our own minds, and of our own journeys through health and wellness. So please contribute. We would love to hear from you. And if there's any way that I can help you, or if there's anyone that would like to speak in relation to what they're going through, or we are always here. I am definitely always here, and there are always other services that you can be plugged into. But it may just take. I know for me, it takes a lot to talk about these things, especially from a guy's perspective, I guess. But if the ear of a friend is, maybe a little bit easier to get out and talk to than it is to make some phone calls and you're online to, you know, someone anonymously on phones, and you know, you're worried about the confidentiality of it all and things like that. Yeah, if the first step for you is just reaching out to someone like me and having a chat, I am all for it. So that is it from me. Much love to you all, and this wraps up another wellness week for us. But we look forward to sharing some more in the coming months, and yeah, please jump in, throw a comment in, and let us know how you're going with your essential oils, and yeah, lots of love. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon.